Hi guys, today I'm making my rainbow loaf, and I told you that I would do a video if there was interest, and it seemed like people would like to see it. So I'm using Terry's neon colorant. You wouldn't have to make a neon rainbow, but I just really like it. It ends up being a very bright item, and it's a crowd drawer. If you set it on the edge of your table, it shows, definitely it attracts attention, especially kids. They come over to see the rainbow. So it will bring people to your table. Even if they don't buy the rainbow soap, you'll definitely attract customers over to see it. So I'm using, these are molds that Terry offered some time ago when she was chic and sassy. They're a 44-ounce loaf mold. They work really well. I actually did a little math, and I subtracted 2 ounces because I would rather be a little low on this loaf than to end up my last layer needing more room than I have to pour. So 42 ounces divided by 6 colors that I'll be using is 7 ounces for each layer. And then with the neons, you use very little colorant. So I use 1/4 of a teaspoon per 8 ounce. I already have my first layer poured. I went ahead and did that just because it's kind of an all-day process when you do these loaves. They just take a while for each layer to set. And I just kind of work on it throughout the course of the day. So this was my first layer. So I'm now doing my second layer. This one is nice and hard. You'll see it's completely set. I don't temp my layers. I don't pour them when they're partially set. I want each layer to be hard so that if I poke my finger, it's not going to leave any indentation. That's what I found works well for me. I have each layer set. I've even poured some layers and got up the next day and poured them. So I know a lot of people will tell you that your layer needs to be warm, the one that's underneath. I haven't found that to be true. I have found that the key to keeping the layers together is to not unmold the soap too soon. I always leave a layer loaf in the mold at least 24 hours, and actually these are probably going to be left in a couple days because I work tomorrow and I won't have time. I do 12-hour shifts, so I won't have time to cut it. So for the layer that I'm about to pour, I'm using the orange red neon. I have 1/4 of a teaspoon in this little cup. I just have various little cups that I use for my micas. I put the 1/4 of a teaspoon of mica in here, and I added rubbing alcohol to it, and I make it a little slurry. It takes a little bit more alcohol to dissolve these because they're synthetic. The natural micas you can dissolve in just a tiny little bit. This I found takes more and longer to dissolve. I melted my soap at 22-second intervals. It's a small amount of soap, so I don't do the 33 seconds or the 30 seconds. I do less time, and as it gets to be almost melted, I decrease the time even more so as not to overheat my soap. So I'm going to add my colorant. I think you can see there very well. It's beautiful, bright color. It's truly gorgeous neons. And then I'll just spray the remaining of my color out with little tiny spritz of rubbing alcohol. It does take, I probably had about a tablespoon, I would say, of rubbing alcohol in here to get everything dissolved. And it evaporates out, so you don't need to be concerned about that. I use 91% rubbing alcohol, so very little water in it. And as it sits, the alcohol will evaporate. And then I'm going to stir that, mix it very, very well. Just beautiful. Look at that color. And I'm not sure what she has in stock now. I've had these for such a long time because they just last you forever. But this is an orange red neon. I'm sure she has some type of orange. The only one I don't have is the purple. So I mix blue and red. I do, I'll have to look up my ratio, but I'm pretty sure that it was 2 pinks to 1 blue to make my purple that I'm going to be pouring. Okay, so here it is. It looks beautiful and bright. These are just so pretty. There's, like I said, they really attract a crowd when you have them on your table. I'm going to temp it and see where I'm at. Oh, and I'm good. I'm 128, 129, so I'll be able to pour this really soon. So for this, I'm using some Crafter's Choice Melon Ball fragrance. I always pick a fragrance oil that will attract, that the kids will like, that will attract them. And again, I'm only going to use 1/4 of a teaspoon for my 7 ounces. I don't like to highly fragrance any of the kids' soaps. I just do them lightly. I don't love these Crafter's Choice fragrances. I won't be purchasing more of them, but it's okay. I just, those fragrances don't seem to be very strong, and I just don't really care for them very much. I bought them in a D-stash, and I wanted to try them. It was a good opportunity to try a lot of them, and I can use them, but like I said, I won't be purchasing more of them. They're just not my favorites. Right, I'm going to spray the sides a little bit just to get any of the soap off the sides of my cup. And I will temp it. And, oh, I'm perfect. I'm like in the 120s. So, one of the big keys to keep your layers from separating is to make sure that you have a complete coating of alcohol on your whole bottom layer. The reason for this is that all those little areas where there's not a coating of alcohol, air can get trapped in there. Air will separate your layers. So you'll see, I don't know if you can tell, let me see, pick this up, but there's actually a good little puddle. Again, I don't know if you can see it, but you want a full puddle on that. And then for pouring, there's really no big trick to that. I just kind of, I actually see a bubble in that corner. So I'll make sure I get my corners a little better. Any bubbles will cause air pockets to form and your soap will separate. So I'm just going to kind of pour slowly and evenly. And that's another good reason that you have to let the loaf sit at least overnight. A full 24 hours is better. And like I said, I've let them sit in there for 2 days, and I think this one probably will. And I've had absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. And then I'll spritz the inside of my cup. That's just to get the last little bit out so that nothing is left behind. And looks like I got that. And then I'm just going to give a quick little spritz on the top. I don't need very much on the top because when you've mixed the alcohol in with the colorant, you don't have a lot of air pockets when you pour. And then I'll just let that sit. You do not want to ever move these loaves if you can at all avoid it. Usually have it all the way to the back of my counter, but it didn't look like you were going to be able to see it. So I'll just have to work around it today. I don't know how long that's going to take to really set up. I want that layer to be completely firm when I feel it. I don't want any indentation left when I push on it. So just however long it takes, the next layer I will do exactly the same way. I'll go ahead and prepare it. The next layer I'm going to be using the green yellow mica. These are all neons, they're just beautiful. And then I have the blue. And I have the green, and I'll have to mix my purple. But I really like these neons. That, like I said, they are polyester. It's a little bit longer to dissolve them. So just work with it, stir it a long time, mix it with the alcohol. Because if you don't get it well dissolved in the alcohol, you're going to have little specks throughout your soap, and you're not going to be happy with that at all. And then because of wanting the color to be really bright and bold, I don't use a lot of fragrance either. I usually cut way back on the fragrance. And I think that's it. If anybody has questions, always measure. If you're wanting even layers, you've got to use a digital scale. And this, I have just a Cuisinart digital scale I've used for several years now. It's been a good one. And I just, I set this on top of my scale and then zero with that container on the top, and then I add my soap, and that way I've gotten real good, true, accurate measurements. And this is the thermometer that I've had. I've had it for a good while. I got it from, my husband actually got it for me from Lowe's, and it works really well. And then I think I mentioned before, in these spray bottles, I have 90, it says 70% alcohol, but I've refilled them with 91% rubbing alcohol. I just like the lower water content because I tend to use a good bit of it. And I think that's it. My base is SFIC, just the clear glycerin base. And it works really well. You can take it to low temperatures and it doesn't get all gloppy on you. I've tried some that you can't take to very low temps without them getting thick and hard. It really limits what you're able to do. You want a nice base that will stay fluid at lower temperatures so that you can make some pretty designs. Okay, I think that's all I've got. If you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Have a great day.